All right, we're talking about circles now. Before we talked about polygons, which were 3 or more sided figures with straight line segments as sides. Now we're talking about a curved surface 2-dimensional figure, which is a circle. We have circumference and area of circles. So first of all, let's talk for a second about a circle and what makes a circle a circle. So I have a circle, and a circle has a center. The center point is equal distance from all the points on the outside of a circle. What you need to remember is that a circle is made up of points, not up of lines. So there's several infinite amount of points that make up a circle. And when I have this circle, I can go to one of those points on the outside and I have created something. What I created was a radius. A radius goes from the center of the circle to a point on the outside. That's a radius. Radius. If I have a circle, best circle ever, and I have a center, not the best center ever, and I had a point or a line segment that went through the center of the circle to another point on the outside of a circle, that's called a diameter. I always say diameter darts across the entire circle. A radius only radiates from the center out. So try to remember those things. A diameter, if you look at a diameter, it's made up of 2 radii, plural for radius. So diameter is equal to 2 times the radius. And I want to have my diameter. My radius, if you look at it, my radius is equal to half my diameter. So if I gave you the diameter, and you took the diameter and divided by 2, I would have my radius. Both the radius and the diameter are important when finding circumference and area of a circle. In order for us to use the formulas properly, we would need to know the radius and diameter of a circle. So when I'm finding circumference of a circle, I have my circle. Circumference of the circle is kind of like perimeter is to a polygon. So circumference of the circle is the outer edge of the circle. Distance around the circle is what we say. Whereas area represents the inside part of the circle. So if I have my circle here, you got to admit, those are pretty good circles to do with a mouse. So in this case, if I'm talking about area, I'm talking about the inside. That's the area. So circumference right here is the outer edge. In order for us to do that, we would need to use a formula. There are 2 formulas for circumference. I hesitate giving you both of them just because this is new. So let's just start with, and then we'll talk about the other one. Circumference is equal to pi times diameter. Okay? So we've talked about pi a lot in the past. It's an irrational number, and irrational numbers go on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. That's what makes it irrational. We use that symbol. That symbol you can use on your calculator, but a lot of times your book and or standardized tests will ask you to use 3.14 instead of the pi key on your calculator. So keep that in mind when you're figuring out these problems and you're checking your answer in the back of the book. If your answer is slightly off, it's because the book used 3.14 or 3 1400ths, which is an approximation of pi. So just remember that. So in order for me to do this, I would need to know the diameter of the circle. So we would draw in the diameter like this, and it would have to have a measurement. Let's say we said it was 3 meters long. So then what you do is you go circumference is equal to pi times 3. That's it. And you're going to enter it into your calculator. So I'm going to show you where on here, this calculator right here, if you look, this is called the caret key. That's the power key. Up right above it in blue is the pi button. So on my calculators that you use in the classroom, you would hit the second key and then the caret key, and you have pi. And then you just hit 3. You don't have to hit times 3 because you're using a symbol before the 3. So you don't have to use the multiplication key. And then you hit enter. So that's, you would say, it probably will tell you to round to the nearest 10th or the nearest 100th. If I said to you round to the nearest 100th, you would say your answer is 9 42 hundredths meters. Not squared. I'm not asking for area. I'm asking more for perimeter. And perimeter is linear. It's not squared. If I asked you to round it to the nearest 10th, you would say 9 4 tenths. Now, the back of your book, when you check your answer, probably used 3 14 hundredths, and then you would go times 3, enter, and see it already rounded it for you because it took an irrational number and made it rational. So it would be slightly different. So when you put your answer for this, it's never going to be exactly, and remember we talked about it, if it's not exactly, it's approximately. So you'll say circumference is approximately 9 42 hundredths meters, and that's it. Linear, not squared. Not squared. I'm not counting squares that fit inside. I'm counting a linear distance around your figure. So that takes us to area. There's another thing I want to say about circumference, but we'll talk about it in a minute. So when I find area of the circle, again, I need to have information first. I think I'm going to draw another circle for you though. So let's put a circle down. And let's do it again. This time, well, let's stick with what we had. And I'm going to go ahead and draw our diameter again. And I'm going to say the diameter is still 3 meters. Okay? Area is equal to pi times radius squared. That's the formula for area. We have the diameter. So how do I find the radius? Take half of that. So on your calculator, you would go area is equal to pi times 1.5, right? Because that's half. I need the radius squared. So again, on your calculator, you're going to go, let's see if you can show you, second pi, if you can see that. And then I'm going to go 1.5. And then see right here, there's a button that says x squared. I could use that, or I can use the up arrow key to put a little 2. I'm just going to use the square button right there. And if you notice what it looks like right there, pi 1.5 squared, and I'm going to hit enter. And there's my answer. If I said round to the nearest 100th, what are you going to write? Are you going to write 7 6 hundredths, or are you going to write 7 7 hundredths? Right, you're going to write 7 7 hundredths because the number next to 6 is 5 or above. 5 or above, give it a shove. 4 below, let it go. So this one would be area is approximately, again, because remember, irrational, 7 7 hundredths meters squared, because it's area, and area is always in squared units. Let me show you on the calculator. Your back of your book may have it as 3 14 hundredths, and then you would do times 1 5 tenths squared and hit enter. And there you go, 7 7 hundredths again. Okay, so notice the two differences between them. It doesn't matter if I give you a radius or a diameter because you should be able to find them. If given the diameter and I need, or given the radius, if given the diameter and need radius, I'm going to divide it by 2. If given the radius and I need the diameter, I'm going to multiply the radius by 2. Okay? So look at those formulas again. Make sure you write these down. Super important that you remember them. And it's up to you to figure out the best way to remember them. You know, I always have little sayings about them. This one doesn't work anymore because you guys don't listen to CDs as much. But think of the alphabet, A, B, C, D. Circumference uses diameter. And area is always in squared units. AR for area. So I always think of it like this. Area uses radius. And A, B, C, D, you can remember circumference uses diameter. You come up with your own saying, whatever works best for you to get it into that brain, into that long-term memory and not your short-term. All right, so let's practice. There's our circle. What did it give us? Yes, it gave us the diameter. So this is what I would do. I would immediately go, diameter is equal to 12 inches. And then I would say, well, if the diameter is 12, then what's the radius? Well, it's half of it, 6 inches. Now I have both pieces of information in order to find my circumference and area. So in this case, I'm looking for circumference, and notice what it wants you to round to. Always pay attention to that. You know, I always grade you on that. So circumference is going to equal to pi d, right? Pi d, pi d, pi d. It rhymes. It sounds good. So pi times 12. So put that into your calculator and tell me circumference is approximately, and remember, you're going to the nearest tenth on this one. So put in your pi d and tell me you get approximately 37. So if you look at what I have, and 7/10 inches, not squared, it's circumference. Your book, 3.14 times 12, 37, and again, 7/10 of an inch. So you get the same thing, just slightly rounded more. So that was easy. Okay, let's do this one. What did they give us this time? Radius, right, because it radiates from the center out. It doesn't dart all the way through the circle like a diameter. So circumference, actually, let's do this. Diameter equals, radius equals. In this case, the radius is 7 1/10 of a meter. So if I asked you to find the diameter of this, you would take and you would double that, right? So you get 14 2/10. Make sure you understand what I did. All I did, remember, diameter is equal to twice the radius. Don't forget that. Circumference is equal to pi d, 14 2/10. So circumference is approximately what when you put that in there? Rounded to the nearest tenth again, 44 6/10 of a meter. It's just a formula. It's just a formula for you to remember. Pi d, pi d. Circumference equals pi d, A, B, C, D. It's good ways for you to remember it. Done. Here we go again. So try this one. Again, I would go over here and write diameter equals radius equals. Otherwise, you're likely to make a simple error. Remember, we talk about simple errors all the time. If you always write down what is the diameter and what is the radius, you won't mess up and use the wrong number. So in this case, diameter is 4 feet and the radius is 2 feet. So now I'm just looking for circumference rounded to the nearest tenth. So circumference is equal to pi d, 12 6/10 of a foot. This one, diameter is equal to, it gives you the radius, 1 6/10 of a centimeter. So take your 1 6/10 and double that up to get your diameter. 3 2/10 of a centimeter, and then do your math. Circumference is equal to pi d. There you go. Once you do that, 10 1/10 of a centimeter. Make sure you can get those on your calculator. Try them out. Make sure you don't have any questions. Of course, if you have questions, you can ask the next day, or you could message me on my channel or through Google Classroom. A landscaper has a tree whose roots form a ball-shaped bulb with a circumference of about 110 inches. Oh. So they're giving us the circumference. They want to know how wide they have to dig the hole. So let's think about this. So let's make the hole. And what I just made in yellow is the circumference of the circle. So let's put down what we know. Remember, I always tell you about that with the story problems. Put down everything that you know. You know circumference. You know circumference is pi times diameter. Put in what you know. You know that the circumference is 110 inches. You're looking for the distance across. And if you're looking for the distance across, you're looking for the what? Right, the diameter. So now solve this. It's a one-step equation. Get d by itself. Go ahead and divide both sides by, what's my pointer options? Pi. Oh, you like that red? Divide both sides by pi, or 3 1400ths. Both of them will get you to an answer, just slightly rounded differently. So in your calculator, just like that. There you go. There's your diameter. Approximately 35. It doesn't tell you how you have to round it, so 35 is good. So you can say approximately it needs to be 35 inches wide. If you did 3.14 divided by, 110 divided by 3 1400ths, you get the same thing, just slightly different because you rounded it. There you go. So your answer, diameter, hold on. Diameter will be approximately, because it's not exact, not when we're dealing with irrational numbers, 35 inches wide. There you go. Easy. Try it again. This time you have a circular pool. Hello. You have a circular pool, has a circumference. Again, what I made in yellow is your circumference. So put down what you know. Circumference is equal to pi d. Circumference is 24 feet. Put in what you know. And Matt's going to swim across the diameter of the pool. So swim, 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 swim all the way across. Obviously, he knows what the center of the pool. He's going to hit the center and go to the other side. Good for him. Again, solving this problem. Let's go with green. You're dividing both sides by pi to isolate d, and do 24 divided by pi. Should get approximately 7 6/10 of a foot. There you go. So diameter is approximately 7 6/10 of a foot. So those are your work backwards problems. There you go. Now we're on to area. So we're rounding to the nearest tenth. Remember, formula for area of a circle. Area is equal to pi r squared. Okay? I give you the radius. So area is equal to pi 11 squared. So it should be pretty easy to do in your head, but let's just do it. Second pi 11, remember the square button right here, right there, squared, enter, and you have 380 and 1/10. So area is approximately 380 and 1/10 feet squared. This is how you can remember that this needs to be squared, right? Pay attention to that. You can also do 3 and 1400ths times 11 squared. You're going to get slightly different answer because you rounded it, but still it's approximately 380. So 380, I should say. It's just going to be slightly off. Here we have our circle again, but this time they give you, yep, you got it, the diameter. So I have diameter is equal to 8 3/10 of a centimeter. I don't want the diameter, I want the radius. So take your diameter and do what? Right, cut it in half. So when you cut that in half, you get 4 1500ths centimeters squared. So you're gonna do area is equal to pi 4 1500ths squared. So area is approximately, go ahead and plug that in, 54 and 1/10 centimeters squared. Pay attention. I don't know why I put the 2 there. It shouldn't be there. Let's get rid of it. Apparently I can't get rid of it. So let's just cross it out. Shouldn't be there. Only should be in your area answer. These are just linear lines. Okay? Yep, got it. And there we go. Let's practice again. So look at this problem right here. Right, diameter equals radius equals. Remember, I already told you you're smart if you do that. If you don't do that, you're more likely to make a mistake. Diameter is 14 meters. Area is 7 meters. Diameter I would use if I was finding circumference. Radius I'm using to find area. So area is equal to pi 7 squared. So 49 times pi. There it is. This one, I'm giving you the diameter of 10 4/10 of an inch. Cut that in half. And then plug it into your formula. There you go. Hopefully your answer's checked out okay. That's it. The only thing that I worry about is there's a problem in your homework that has to do with working backwards for area. So let's say I tell you that the area is equal to 110 feet squared. And I say to you, man, what's the diameter equal to? So let's think about working backwards on this problem. You know information, you know how to find area is equal to pi r squared, right? Plug in what you know. Area is 110 pi r squared. Think about a 1-step, actually this is 2-step equation. So the first thing I'm going to do is isolate the r. So I'm going to get pi over to this side so that I can cancel it here. So I have r squared is equal to, I'm going to do 110 divided by pi, and I'm going to get, remember this is a lot of rounding, I'm going to get 35. I'm not done because I have a square here. Remember in chapter 9, we learned the only way to get rid of a square is to square root it. Remember that? So I need to square root both sides. So I'm going to take the square root here, and I'm going to take the square root here. So on my calculator, I'm going to go square root of 35. So see, got the square root of 35. I'm going to hit enter. I get approximately 6. I'm going to round it so it's easy to work with. So I now have 6 is equal to r. Yay. Is that what I wanted? No, I want the diameter. So if I know that the radius is equal to 6, remember, here's your circle, here's the radius. How do I get the diameter? Double it. So 6 times 2, so my diameter is 12 feet. My radius was 6 feet. So make sure you read the directions carefully as to if it's asking you for the radius or the diameter. So that's a work backwards problem for area. So you can pause this, you can process it however you need to. Good luck on your homework. Let me know if you have questions.